You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you.
About it is everybody knew it was going to happen. The insurance companies knew it was going to happen. They've been pulling out of California for years.
Canceling policies
State Farm.
the past year.
Think of just the animals.
These police training grounds to teach police how to basically do terrorism against the population.
Everybody without a blue roof goes up in flames.
You see videos online of deer lying in lawns.
Finally, this man's spitting.
Welcome back to the Madhouse Show. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Palisade Fires. As you can see, we have the same panel as last week. We've been sitting here for a whole week, just waiting to do this.
My underwear is crusty.
Yeah, we haven't showered. We're very tired. It's been a long week.
It smells like man down here.
We've really been waiting for this, so excuse us if we're a little amped. Why don't we just go ahead? Palisade Fires. Let's just start with a little clip about, I don't know, L.A., their planning, their preparation.
It's big.
Yeah, let's go with clip 4, Stevie.
Los Angeles Fire Department is launching its first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau. It is dedicated to ensuring a fair and equal workplace environment.
So by creating this new bureau, our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau, now we actually have the staff to do the work when it comes to doing a deep dive in regard to how we do business.
That, of course, included the torture of DEI classes.
We are hosting our new employee orientation, and our focus is to teach our new employees for them to understand cultural competency, identify implicit and unconscious bias, and be aware of the importance of us having a diverse and inclusive workforce.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better.
No, you want someone to put out the fucking fire.
You couldn't carry my husband out of the fire.
What's with the production level being like 30 years
in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of the fire?
That victim-shaming firewoman is only the assistant chief. Holy shit. Good luck with your waterless fire hydrants, Los Angeles.
That's an ad hominem attack on top of what was actually a very good point.
There was a little bit of talking over that last part. I just want to make sure I emphasize that, what did she say? People always ask, can you carry my husband out of a burning building? And which my response is to that, well, your husband got himself in the wrong place if he's in a burning building in the first place.
So, actually
and then the person that made this video went in a lifeguard was just like, oh, you're drowning? Well, you should have learned to swim. Or you're having a heart attack with an EMT. So you shouldn't have went to the buffet so much. Terrible response. I don't know if that person's fired or not. Should have been fired after that interview, for Christ's sake.
Probably not.
Joe and everyone at this table, have you heard of the med sled? I feel it's worth
the med sled.
I feel it's worth 20 seconds. I was actually approached by this to make a commercial once, which I did not accept, and I probably should have. But it's this very reason that if you're on a high-rise building with no elevator, and there's a fire or some emergency, and you need to be carried down the stairs, and there is a medical professional who cannot bear your weight, rest assured, we've got Med Sled. And Med Sled is exactly what you fucking think it is. It is a snow sled with a rope attached to it. And so you are strapped to the sled.
How much does it cost?
And you are God knows how much.
Too much.
A lot.
With inflation, 1,000.
I work for companies that made shit like that.
But yes, and you were drugged down the stairs. But I think the ad hominem, throw the panel, but I think the ad hominem attack was a very poor move because they were making probably a decent enough point, which was that there was a problem.
Okay.
What was the problem?
Well,
racist fire chiefs or I guess not adhering to affirmative action, would you call it? Or I don't know what the problem.
So the balance between merit placement and diversity placement would be the issue
And why should there be a balance between merit and diversity when it comes to something like firefighting?
Right. That is actually the question that many, many intelligent people are arguing as we speak. I would imagine this argument is still going on.
I'm sure.
This is all kind of a bit of a bait and switch yet again, because the cause of the fires is global warming. It's pollution. It's and also the reason the fire hydrants were empty was not because of DEI hires. It was because LA gives 2/3 of its water to the Resnick family so that they can grow plants that are best grown in
believe
bog
it's
and swamp
pistachios.
environments. Yes, trees that like to grow in very wet and damp environments so that they can grow these out in the California desert. Right. And then they
Real
can
smart.
sell those products to the market. Right. So the reason LA is dry is because they're giving all this money to these billionaires that really could just do their business elsewhere a lot more effectively without putting the community and city in danger. But they want to be close to where the action is. So they spend a bunch of money to get what they want at everybody else's expense.
Is
That
the
sounds
argument-
terrible.
Is the argument
It
here
is
that,
terrible, yeah. And like DEI hires didn't cause that, right?
There's two
The
arguments.
oligarchy caused that.
There's two.
Well, no, but okay. So like you're saying, well, residents in Los Angeles aren't allowed enough water to have potentially prevented a fire or any of these fires because there were multiple.
Well, we just had some
I
hydrant
think a
systems
couple of
run
which were
dry.
actually arson. So
They were.
Debatable.
I think it was like what 2? There was like 8 fires though, and I think like maybe 2 of them were.
You know how
arson.
many homeless are in LA? I mean, if you had
California
absolutely
is
nothing to
prone
lose.
fires.
There was a lot of fires
Sure.
at the same time.
It's dry. It's dry area out there.
And there were hundreds of hydrants that were pillaged.
Those wind
for
conditions were
Yeah.
incredible too. If
There's
you, if you
a-
saw anything about
Absolutely.
how those
Yes,
fires spread,
absolutely. Without
it wasn't because
Yeah.
somebody threw a bunch of fucking sawdust all over LA.
Well, and that
No,
wind
it's 'cause
is
the wind
also
was
comes
going
down to global
wild.
warming. But there's an old African proverb that goes something like, "The child not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth." Right. So if you want to talk
Homeless
about arson
people.
from homeless people that are forced onto the streets
have nothing
by
to
greedy
lose.
landlords
Yeah, they have
and
nothing
by
to
the
lose.
investment banking cartel buying up all the housing and driving people onto the streets and forcibly evicting them at gunpoint, well then maybe I can understand that, and I'm not so pissed about it.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily
That is
exactly
a
why.
frighteningly ideological way to view that.
I'm sure they could have started. Like if I was a homeless person out there, I'd fuck the rich people, burn it down. Why not? You have nothing better to do, literally. But no,
But a
this
lot
is
of
the
working
thing.
class people got hurt by these fires. It's no joke.
And the point being is this is a thing that happens every year. I believe they're called the Santa Ana winds. I believe that they come in every single year. And there was, I think it was, I'm not sure the exact
It
date.
depends
I
if
want
it's
to
an
say
El
about.
Nino or La Nina.
Yes, LA is built on a horrible location.
Mm-hmm. So
It really is.
I
It's
want to say
absolutely
basically there was a firefighter on the Joe Rogan podcast that I believe was about 6 months or so before this even happened. And the time might be wrong. I might be wrong. But either way, it did happen before this happened. And he said, it's just a matter of time. He was an LA firefighter. He's like, it's a matter of time for these winds to hit at the perfect time in the perfect direction at the perfect velocity to just cause an absolute nightmare, which is exactly what it just did.
That's exactly what it did, Joe. And the thing about it is, everybody knew it was going to happen. The insurance companies knew it was going to happen. They've been pulling out of California for
They've been
years.
canceling policies
State
hell of
Farm
the past year.
canceled 70,000 policies in 2024, about 6 months before the fire happened. The problem with the insurance company in California is that they didn't allow, there's a law passed, they cannot base rates on future forecasts of weather. They made them base their rates on the past 20 years of prehistoric forms. So
Climate change denialism encoded in policy.
it
causing
capped
these
the rates. They
companies to
cannot
not be able
charge
to do
enough,
it,
so that's why they pulled out. It was an event that was bound to happen. The building codes at the time most of these houses were built were not going to withstand a fire of this nature. When you talk about the fire hydrants running dry, I've listened to some of the things. I am not a fire hydrant expert or water expert, but what they're saying is that there is not a water system in the world that could contend with fires of this
What
nature.
they did say, yeah.
That's probably
Even
true,
if that reservoir was completely full, they would have run out of the water at some point. They would not. They would have saved a few more houses had they not cut the budget of fire department. Maybe they would have exited and got people out faster in a more organized fashion. Maybe.
Well,
they
that's
were
the
not
other
going to
part of
save
it.
I
tons of
appreciate your
money.
level-headed take on
They
it
cut
because
the
this isn't
budgets
something
all
that
to
should be
hell,
Okay, so
and
should
then
these-
they blame it on DEI, right?
I'm sorry.
Never let it
should
cross.
these be, shouldn't
Get the
these
like,
be
Topher.
two- Oh, hey.
No,
very
it
good.
was on me.
Shouldn't these be two separate issues, though? I mean, so are we talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, or are we talking about mismanagement due to diversity?
I wanted to basically the reason I highlighted that
Never
is,
let a good
is
crisis go to waste. So
The-
take the
the
opportunity
reason-
to attack your political opponent. I don't think it should be politicized.
No,
It's
and
a crazy fucking
I
wildfire.
totally agree with you.
8 of them.
Hurricanes should not. Fires should not. These are people.
Yep.
These are I mean, look. If you love animals, I love animals. Many of us have pets. Okay. Think of all. I mean, honestly, just ignore the human casualties and the terrible circumstances to these families. Think of just the animals tortured
oh, absolutely, yeah.
by this. Burned. You see videos online of deer lying in lawns in places they know are dangerous because they know people are dangerous enough to stay the hell away from them, but they don't understand what's going on. This is horrifying.
Absolutely, yeah.
Anyone who takes a political stance on this first, I think is abhorrent. I think it's abhorrent.
Sure.
And honestly,
I'm with
I
George.
think it was mismanaged a little bit, maybe
Of course.
maybe a lot of bit, and we can move that margin. We can move that margin a little bit.
How much impact would it have made though
Right,
at the end of
okay.
the day?
Yeah, there's nothing
But-
wrong with looking at your procedures and going, how can we
but
improve them?
now
Sure,
it's
that's a natural reaction.
Now it's Karen Bass and Newsom
That was
versus
the name.
Trump.
Yes.
Versus Trump, and this is a real issue, folks, because now it's becoming the people's court. It's becoming reality TV. It's becoming posturing and staging.
Sure.
And then there are people to blame who need to be held accountable. Fine. But they're, for better or worse, they are in the positions of power right now. So we need to support them to get the people through this situation so that we can have a time where we can look back and say, these were the mistakes. This is where we could have done different.
Well, sure. So,
I don't know, and this is where I'll stop. I don't know if it is directly linked to DEI or it isn't. But I think that's where you were going with it.
there's a lot of people, and I would like to defend that, if you wouldn't mind. The reason why I brought this up is because there are a lot of people. They would be more hardcore MAGA Republicans, and it would be a politicized environment. That's exactly why I brought this up and why I did want to talk about this. So, in relation to DEI, the reason why is because you play that clip. That is the LA Fire Department. Now, I do think the assistant fire chief that actually said what she said was appalling. I mean, like nothing short, and I can't find anybody that doesn't agree with that. But let's not hang on that, all right? But it was appalling, and I do think in LA, in a situation where there are fires yearly, it is a fire-prone area, very, very important. I mean, you would think a fire department would take fires way more seriously than they do in St. Louis. Not that you shouldn't take fires seriously everywhere, but a fire-prone environment. We don't have wildfires in St. Louis here. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think that's the right way of structuring the question. And I want to throw the panel, especially the newcomers, but I don't think it's right to say the firefighters didn't take it seriously. These are our frontline heroes.
What I'm talking about is
who put their lives on the line.
And you're right. I phrased that wrong.
So
I did
wouldn't
not
say the firefighters.
I did not mean the frontline firefighters by any means. I meant the political agendas of LA. Should I say?
Underfunding. No.
Yes.
So what we're talking about is, were they underfunded? So what we're talking about, folks, is were they underfunded?
Now,
that is the actual issue.
Now here's some numbers I'm going to throw out,
100%.
and I do want to say that I'm not sure if they are correct or not. I'm just going to to throw that out there. But numbers I want to throw out, I believe it was 20 million that was actually taken away from the fire department of just directly LA, and I think Newsom, like a total of 100 million, was taken away from firefighting sectors of the state of California.
Substantial cuts were made.
Yes,
Substantial
cuts were made. I'm not sure on the actual numbers, and the same with the numbers as well.
But
I believe
hold
there was
on.
something to the
That
tune
needs
of
an asterisk.
$3 billion was spent on illegal immigrant health care in the state of California.
That's fair. But that needs an asterisk. So in Gavin Newsom's tenure, he's increased that funding dramatically overall. But yes, there were those reductions more recently.
Right.
I think I just got a thumbs up for that.
You did.
You deserve it.
I don't, and I've got no stake in the
You
Gavin
get a gold
Newsom
star.
game. I don't care. I'm not a Californian, so like whatever.
I'm just surprised
It's
that
true.
all resources were not allocated to
Yeah.
allocated. Sorry, I pronounced that wrong. Alcohol. Alcohol.
I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable all the time.
It happens.
It happens.
I'm surprised that the resources weren't divvied out to the fire department, considering they're prone to wildfires every year. It's very interesting to me that that's not their main focus.
Again. So is it during the hurricane where we make this a political point, or is it after the hurricane? It's after the hurricane.
Well, I mean, if you look at
So
the
we're
funding of every city in the country over the past couple decades, every single program, fire, housing, social services, everything has been dramatically cut to funnel more and more money into the police, right? So, I mean, every city in the country is planning their version of Cop City, these police training grounds to teach police how to basically do terrorism against the population. And that means that we can't fund parks, we can't fund community centers, we can't fund fire services, we can't fund anything else because it all has to go to giving cops MRAPs, tanks, drones, and all the fancy toys that they can train with.
What about $3 billion to illegal immigrant health care?
That's fucking shit. I don't know, and I don't care.
So
That's a lot of money.
Care. It's
If
in the
that's
scale
true.
of California, it's not. California is like, if you ignore the rest of the United States, it's like the 8th largest economy on the planet.
Well, $3 billion seems to me like something that Brian mentioned earlier about there is no source of water that could combat something like this. Now, I beg to differ this because you're talking about L.A. You're talking about a situation where these people, every one of these people, like in the Palisades, they're all millionaires.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
A number of them that had the houses
Quite
and
a bit of
family
them.
passed down and everything.
Inheritance.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just saying, I have an
House
HOA.
rich, cash poor.
I have an HOA here. You mean to tell me that these millionaires
Not the worst
can't
place to
devise
be.
an HOA or some sort of situation similar to that to where they could pour funds, even their own funds, to protect their own houses, for Christ's sake, which might even bring the insurance companies back if they know they have a massive...
Rich
think
people
we're-
are libertarians. All they
hold on.
believe in is
I think
giving
we're-
more money to
victims.
police.
I think we are wildly
don't blame the
underestimating the
victims.
strength of these fires.
yeah.
Standing out in your front yard with your
regardless of
garden
the
hose
strength
was
of
not
these
saving your
fires,
house.
regardless of the
You
strength of
cannot
these
stop
fires,
this.
there was a man.
This is
Yeah.
unstoppable.
It's
There
an
was a
act of
man-
God for a
Force of
reason.
nature.
And don't blame the victims.
It's tragic.
Don't
It's an
blame
act
the
of God.
victims.
There was a
That's
man
not
that went.
right.
There was a man that went to the hardware store and he picked up a bunch of sprinklers and he ran like 4 sprinklers at his house and he actually ended up saving his house.
Well,
and
he had a
well,
public
you're
water.
right, Joe. He deserves his entire house burned to the ground. You're absolutely right. God damn him to
saved
hell.
his
He had
house.
4 sprinklers.
There's
4
only-
sprinklers. Fuck him.
He saved his house along with neighbors' houses as
There's
well.
only
And
so
all
many
I'm
people
saying
that have
is,
enough pressure in the system that can do that.
and I
If
understand
everybody
it would
did
take
that,
it would
they
take a
would've-
massive
they would've ran
system
out of
and it would
water
take a
by
lot of
now.
infrastructure. But I mean, you can't tell me that if they're going to spend $3 billion on illegal immigrant health care, that if they took that $3 billion and
Okay.
spent it on that,
Okay,
Bro, that
it's
kind of
like-
so this-
infrastructure
so
for
this
an area
is-
like LA where there's so much sprawl, that shit would cost like $1 trillion. Like when it comes to sprawl, the
So-
infrastructure is expensive.
Yeah.
The further you got to pump stuff to give people houses that are further away from each other, the more that shit costs. And when you're
More
talking
water
about
was
high
not gonna
pressure
help that.
hydrant systems,
Well,
Neither
you'd
was
have
fucking
to have
flame
like
retardant
10
dropped by planes.
desalination
But you don't
plants, a
necessarily
couple
need.
nuclear
You don't
plants to
necessarily need
fuel
high.
them.
Like every house could have 4 sprinklers going. Yes, it would take a massive amount.
Hey,
But
well, I mean, like, look. There's
in my
some-
experience,
there's
if
some stuff we
something's
can
wet,
do.
it doesn't burn. If we could just make everything wet, it won't burn.
They don't have enough water for that. There's
Ladies
some
and
stuff we
gentlemen,
can
you
do.
heard it here first.
We
If
can
it's
do
wet,
fire
it doesn't
breaks.
burn.
You
Joe,
can put. You
this
can
particular
control
incident-
the vegetation and the like
You
the
can do
surface
that.
materials.
Yeah,
around
Chris, you can
houses
do
and
that
everything,
stuff. But
it only
this
goes so
fire,
far. Yeah,
this
that
fire
was a hot
does
fire.
not matter. When winds are that high, it picks up embers and pieces of
Yeah.
shit that's on fire.
It's like
and
a
takes
a
it 10
fucking
miles
fire
away and starts
hurricane.
another fucking fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
seen how
Okay.
fast they spread? And Joe, and just
Yeah.
just to say too, I think it's a little bit of a pollster trick to keep bringing up this $3 billion to immigrants because
Damn right.
In hindsight, what would you rather give the $3 billion to?
Right.
I'm with Judd. I'd rather have maybe
no,
if that
okay.
could have stopped that fire. I don't know if it could have, but you know what I mean.
I'm saying we're
a start.
We're phrasing it in a bad way. Is more of what I'm saying.
I guess
So just
in my defense
part-
to the DEI, why I brought it up is because they could have been focusing
Can
on
I-
actual
can I say
preparation for
something
this.
about
It's California. They don't care.
I want to come back, but let's go to
The
Yeah, let's go,
DEI
Brian.
they're DEI shoehorning the issue into an issue that doesn't really fit into very well. This is not the issue to shoehorn into a
Yes.
fire that could not have been prevented. The money that you're talking about, look, these people pay more taxes than any probably section of the U.S. in the
100%.
world. If there was
Absolutely.
any city services
yeah.
fire thing that could have prevented this fire in the world, they probably should have it or could have it. It was not a priority of the California state
Yes,
government or local
yes.
government to prevent these fires in that nature, or they probably knew they couldn't have ever prevented or stopped a fire of this nature, so they didn't invest the resources that probably
Church.
could have done it. And plus, everything was already built to a building code that did not foresee these type of fires was going to happen in the future. So it was an inevitable event that could not have been stopped. Now, when we talk about rebuilding in the future, there's going to be new building codes and fire codes that are going to build houses farther apart. If you're 80 years old, are you going to wait? This is the strictest building codes
They're
in
not,
the entire
yeah.
world. You're not going to wait. You're going to move.
Yes.
And the problem with the California tax code is that they rely so much on the wealthy and the ultra wealthy to support their cities and their government handouts and everything they do. So if
Rapid
a lot of these
gentrifying.
wealthy people start moving out of the state, they will have a very tough time paying for the services and the things
This
they
is
have
going to
from their
take
government.
very intelligent people a very long time
Very long.
to solve.
Very long.
And what I would just and then
It's all going to get bought up by vulture capitalists.
I was going to say, yeah,
Yes,
or
it's gonna get
Blackwater
more
comes in and
wealthy,
buys it and just
The wealthier,
there's
it's
that.
going to get a wealthier and wealthier area. The people there,
It's going to
that
be the
were-
Vanguard Palisades.
That's what I'm a little worried
Contractors
about,
are
yeah.
not going to be expedient, folks. I mean, I don't want to get on a tangent, but I mean,
Well, especially Gavin Newsom just decided that he was going to put price controls on new home construction.
well,
for the
no,
rebuild.
look, as I said, management
That means
has
they're not
moved
going to
on.
build anything.
So maybe it's a moot point now because we've kind of moved on. But just to say, for the good of a back point, that an accusation has been made that money was spent for illegal immigrants for their health care. And then in hindsight, wouldn't it have been better if we had $3 billion worth of whatever
Sure,
it
yeah.
would have been to have fixed this
Everything's
situation.
2020 in hindsight.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's be careful
Money
how
is fungible,
let's
but
be
not in
careful how
hindsight.
we phrase questions, because if you study polling, and you have to use like IBM SS, it's a very complicated system. I am not good at mathematics. I can't even use it.
I am,
But
I do.
oh, very good. So you understand it's very complex. You can't learn it in a day, correct?
Right.
Right. Very good. Okay. So you have to be very careful when you're polling people, right? Because you can lead. You can lead. You can lead people. So I only say this, Joe. If I were to say to this panel a question like, "Do you think every child in this country deserves health care?" Okay. You would probably, let's not throw actually, but you would probably get more of a more overwhelming or at least positive response to that than otherwize.
We've had this conversation before.
Right.
Yeah.
If I were to say, and that's fine because no one watched episode 3. And if I were to say, should the children of illegal immigrants have access to health care? Now our views change. Now the opinion changes.
Now it's politicized.
So we got to be very careful how we're talking about the allocation of money. These are things that we, as smart as we are, we don't understand.
Also, can I point out that this whole thing is like entirely misleading? Do you know what that illegal immigrant healthcare is? It's emergency services.
Yes.
What they're covering is basically somebody walks into the emergency room and we're not going to turn away somebody who's dying.
Yes.
Sure.
We're going to
Yes.
process them in the moment, and then
Try
we're going to
going
deal
to
with the bills
DePaul.
later.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
So like that's
absolutely true.
what this is covering.
Now,
and a little bit more than
in my
that.
defense, I just want to say, because I put these shows together, I might be a little right leaning, but just because these are the topics at hand, this does not necessarily mean these are my views here.
Oh no, I'm not.
These
not
are
saying
things
they
I'd like
I'm
to
just-
talk about.
I'm just saying that's
Stevie, cue the
where this-
disclaimer.
that-
we need the disclaimer
I'm
to
just
crawl
saying,
at the bottom now.
These are things that I hear. These are things that I hear. These are things that
Right.
I'd like to talk about because they are things that I hear, and I do hear them from right-leaning people, and I get a lot of.
So they bring up all this stuff to talk about it as if we're giving premium healthcare services and like American style health insurance to these immigrants, and that's not what's happening. What's happening is that we're making sure that hospitals are made whole when somebody walks in who's an illegal immigrant and can't pay. Right? That's it.
It happens
That's
with
it.
it happens with
Yeah.
the homeless.
It does. It happens here
You
too.
can be a
We
U.S.
just use
citizen.
some different terms.
If
to
you are
go over it.
homeless
That's
and you
it.
have no health care, and you walk in, my mom was was a I don't want to say her name, but she was a supervisor of a local hospital here in St. Louis. I would just say, if you are homeless and you walk in with a crisis to the ER and you have no health care, you will be treated. You will be treated.
Why don't we take a little breath, and just because I already prepped it anyway, let's just take a look. I got a little bit of the coverage. Play clip 5, Stevie. Let's just look at some of the coverage of the actual fires burning.
Sure.
It's so rough, man.
It's pretty
At
bad.
the end of the day, I mean, who's ready for something like this?
Nobody.
Overnight,
one.
flames
No
reaching
one.
the iconic Malibu neighborhood
I think
and
that
its
guy was in
beachfront
Ocean's
homes. In the coastal neighborhood Pacific Palisades, multiple homes completely engulfed in flames, with desperate residents rushing to get out.
Tears your heart out.
Planes flying above the area, capturing the massive reach of the inferno. The fire jumping Pacific Coast Highway, burning all the way to the ocean, even threatening the famed Getty Villa Art Museum. And 2 more fires igniting overnight, spreading to Pasadena, where this Jewish temple erupted in flames.
It's like a bad,
That's how you know the Jews didn't do it.
That's how you know there is no God.
Hell on earth.
So, James, you wanted to segue a little bit. Let me get you on here.
Well, I was going to say, if you really want to get Chris going, let's jump from this fire to an even hotter one.
Oh, yeah?
Ceasefire in Israel and Palestine.
Well, that's the next episode. Why the hell will we do that in this episode?
Oh, because
Yeah, you're
the next thing in this episode.
naughty, man.
Jesus. Yeah, we're going to save that. That's going to be the next episode next week. So if you guys are enjoying this,
Don't
just wait
worry,
till that
folks. It'll still be going on by that time, so you're
Absolutely.
fine.
It'll definitely have been violated, but we'll talk about it then.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't everyone's heart go out to these? I mean, it just.
I do. There's.
I don't care how wealthy they were.
No one.
Losing
should.
your home is losing.
There's
your home.
a lot of people that are against it.
Well,
And fuck the wealthy people.
Did everyone?
You know?
Did everyone see Chappelle on SNL? Just.
I heard about it, but I didn't see it.
He had the funniest line. He said, "Again, I'm paraphrasing. I'm no Dave Chappelle, despite the complexion. But he said, I read on the news that there's just a lot of poor people saying like, they don't care that all these rich motherfuckers have their house burnt down. You know what? That started making me hate poor people."
So I have seen that sentiment a bit online, but where I haven't seen it
Where's that?
is in party organizing. I have not seen that at all amongst the people that are out doing protests and everything. They feel for everybody whose house was lost in the fires.
What
as they should.
Right. What needs to happen, no matter what state it is, and this is where we're worried about with Trump now rescinding who knows FEMA now. Okay, there's no national...
It was funny. Did you see him questioned about that?
Yes.
He kept distracting from it because the reporters kept asking him, "Oh, so what's your timeline for eliminating FEMA?" Well, he's down in North Carolina doing the alien relief, and he's like, "Well, I don't know about that."
He probably has concepts of a plan. I'm sure.
Concepts of a plan.
Folks,
I'm sure.
we are the hope of the world. We are what almost every nation aspires to be. We are not going to have a federal agency that can. I'm sorry, no. The promise of America, the promise, not our history, but the promise.
We have great PR.
Look, in this country, well, let's not go into it. But
how about I throw a curveball really quick?
Let's go.
Just to fuck with it. And I'm going to go ahead and throw it at Danny because I haven't heard you speak very much. So sorry if I'm fucking with you. But
Danny,
have you heard anything about direct energy weapons?
No. The government is not starting these fires. Please stop.
So
please stop.
I wanted to touch on a couple of...
God.
I wanted to touch on a couple of far-fetched conspiracy theories.
It was Bigfoot with a match.
Yeah, because
I've seen him.
And everybody, I love conspiracy theories because half of them end up being true. They really do. It's hilarious. But direct energy weapons are actually, and you can straight up make them probably with a 3D printer or whatever. Topher, you'd probably know how to do that. You goddamn engineer.
Bro, you're asking the wrong guy.
I'm just saying you can make a weapon that literally I can light a cardboard box on fire with a little gun that's 20 feet away. Right. So now there's this conspiracy.
I spent 3.5 years working in optics. I was building optical systems with lasers.
Yeah, optical lasers.
So what you're saying is
how to
that
make
fire
the death
was
rays.
your fault.
So if you're asking
you know how to make death
is
rays.
It possible to make directed energy weapons that started these fires? Sure, but nobody's doing it.
Okay, so
and
it is
would have
possible.
Seen if somebody was doing
now
it.
Once again, I just bring these up because it's fun to talk about.
It's your fault that you brought it up.
It doesn't mean I think it's fucking true. I'm just simply saying
nobody has
there
the
is a
systems in place to do
conspiracy.
it.
So, Joe, what is your take
there's a
on it?
conspiracy. There's a conspiracy that a lot of people think that's what happened in Hawaii with the the fires in Hawaii, and then it would be all up to
space lasers,
and then
what could the Jews possibly have against Hawaii? Doesn't make any sense.
Like Vanguard.
Hold on. They might want to colonize it.
They just woke up one day and they're like, you know what? Fuck Hawaii.
Like Vanguard,
going.
BlackRock, they're highly funded. I mean, what? BlackRock's like an $11 trillion company, highly funded, whatever. And then you got, big old Nazi Musk, apparently, doing SpaceX. Maybe they pop one of
BlackRock is also Nazi.
Those direct energy weapons on a satellite, and the next thing you know, everybody without a blue roof goes up in flames.
The way you can tell that it wasn't some nefarious force blasting people with lasers from the sky is that if that were the case, they would use it as a false flag and blame Iran, and we'd be in a war with them right now. We're not.
He's right about that.
That's how you know it's not.
So there's
finally this man's spitting.
So Danny, what do you think about that crazy ass conspiracy theory? Just your thoughts on that.
Oh, it ain't going that far. That's
that's
going over the wall.
Okay, sure.
So there's.
I think so too.
Joe's like, I'm being accused of being totally insane. That's cool.
Fuck off. I mean, I think it's insane. I just wanted to bring it up.
You say
But Joe,
the same
we know
comment,
that,
then you're like, why is
but
everyone
now
calling me
let me
insane?
ask you, what do you think about the laser conspiracy?
What do I think about the laser
conspiracy?
conspiracy? I think it's interesting that.
Do you want me to build you a laser, bro?
Interesting is a euphemism.
Come on, man.
I think it's
Did you have a
interesting.
laser?
I can
think
build
it's
you a laser.
Well, yeah, and if you can, then I'd love one. That'd be fucking dope. If I could set my amber
don't trust you with a
box on
laser.
fire from fucking 20 feet away, that'd
Can
be
you
dope as
promise
hell.
me you won't point it at any planes?
Okay, let him cook though. What do you think about this conspiracy theory?
No planes, but maybe some
So
buildings in LA. I don't know. It might be a slight possibility.
About that.
In case anybody in the FBI is
no,
listening, I don't condone that message.
I'm just saying. I found it interesting. I think it is interesting that the I want to call them DEI weapons. That's hilarious. Direct energy weapons. So DEW.
Are you telling me the gays
direct
did this?
energy
No,
weapons?
he's saying that the Mexicans, I think, is what he's saying.
No, they call them. They call them DEW, I believe. Direct energy. You know,
Was
Mountain
it
Dew.
them
Just do
rainbow
it.
flag people?
Do the do.
Okay, so let's even go further because I definitely agree with this one as well. There's the other conspiracy of they're all just burning the evidence because of all the Diddy parties. So there's another good one. Totally believe that.
Parties, but
I'm bringing this up because I wholeheartedly believe it.
Most commercially available lubricants are intentionally non-combustible, so I'm going to go with false.
First of all, can we all agree that until we see the full Diddy list and the full Epstein list, we can just all assume that everybody worth more than $5 million is on it?
I mean, probably.
Some
That's
sex
a bit
party
too
at some
sweeping.
point, sure.
It's a bit too sweeping.
I don't think they
It's a
eat
bit
babies,
too,
though.
okay,
I don't think everybody's on it, but
There's gotta be like,
can we assume 10 million? Like what's the line for you?
Well,
How
I
many
don't-
millions are we drawing this line at?
Well,
50.
I don't know how many people would have
50.
had the opportunity to. Is really more what I'm thinking.
so we're thinking 50.
I mean, it
That's
makes
what you're
perfect
saying.
sense. Like Diddy's convicted, he's probably
but if
talking.
you
So let's just
mean-
burn all the evidence.
If you just mean like the Diddy and the Epstein Island stuff, could he have gotten to 10 million people? Like just given the amount of time?
Yes.
That's an awful lot of air flights, dude. That's
Okay,
a
so
whole lot
like
of dirt
how
being
many?
collected.
So there's
That'd take a long time.
There's 1,000 billionaires. If we're
How
talking
many
about
people
like
could go to that island at a time, though? What's that?
so,
Wasn't that
so,
fucking
like,
big, right?
we can probably figure like
A plane
maybe
worth?
like 100,000 people on those two lists.
Stevie, cue
Maybe.
up the fucking meme
Maybe.
game. Let's go.
How do we get to Epstein?
That's closer than
This is
that's closer.
insane. This is a segue.
Fuck it.
I really want to learn how to ride a Segway.
Probably be terrible at it.
I would be. I fucking tried Brandon's. I fucking fell on my ass. Shit's about to get real.
This song just like triggers my insomnia at nights.
Well, I just want to say thank you
Does it
so much to
replay
the
in your
panel
head
for
in the
playing
evenings?
Attack the Host
Thank you, Joe.
this evening. I appreciate it.
Well, our host is insane, but you know, what are you going to do?
I haven't said anything that mean about you.
Fuck
yet.
you, Joe.
Thank you.
Would you like me to get mean? I
Join the
can.
party. Join the
You're
party.
right, yeah.
Hit us with that first one again, Stevie.
There
I
you
just
go.
saw it. There we go.
That was a fumble.
I just
finger.
hoping a beast lesbian woman of color reaches us before a white
This is
man.
where I hope.
Testing.
Again, that's the point of the argument.
I think the kid's already cooked, man.
I thought it was Adele at first.
But let's not.
Well, it is LA. It's
in
probably on heroin.
Let's not dismiss though the fact that a lesbian person, no matter her body shape, could be very good at her job.
I would love to get carried out of a fire by a lesbian. Really, anybody.
I once met
think Carrie-
a
you think
lesbian
Carrie
prison warden, and she was extremely intimidating.
I mean,
And by intimidating, I mean terrifying.
I will say that assistant fire chief earlier that I like, she looked like she could drag a husband out of a burning fire.
Yeah, she
so
absolutely could.
I don't know why
That
she
woman
responded
looked like
that
she
way.
could toss you onto her back and just walk out of a fire
Absolutely.
with you.
So why her
So
response
why are you
was
so worried about it?
because of her response? It was fucking terrible. Maybe that.
You're too embedded in the cultural conservatism.
I mean, a simple.
warm up to the times,
can you
bro.
drag my husband out of a burning building? Look at her. All she needed to do was say yes.
He said your husband. I knew this man was gay. I called it.
in her position, she
I said your husband.
George, get your shit.
well.
Look,
it's under the cloth.
we've been waiting here for a whole week to do this episode. Do you think me and George hadn't got a little fucking slap and tickle going on?
As the
How do you
guy
think
that's
I-
sitting in between them,
how do
they've
you think
both
I
been
got on this
occasionally
show?
rubbing my thigh during the show. So
I was going to say fellatio's how I got on this show.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
hit us with the next meme, man.
Here you go. Oh shit, that's the wrong one.
Yeah, that was you. The Democrat cult.
So, Joe, why is everyone anti-Democrat?
These are really, really right-wing
It's so.
memes.
It's
They
like-
are. They are. I
George,
mean,
oh no. Okay, so the Democratic
The
cult
Democratic
is a
Party
religion
is
of.
shit.
So let's just read this though. is a religion of self-hatred that teaches whites to hate their race, men to hate their strengths, women to hate their femininity, and Americans to hate their country.
Maybe. Well, not Democrats. Democrats love Americanism. They're all about the nationalism. Like if you talk to somebody like me,
what's going on in the bottom half of that
I might
picture?
get a little bit more in there. It's some AI generated bullshit.
A gathering of people with
it?
torches. That's why I'm worried about it.
It's basically like a fucking what's that painting? The triptych.
And it's also weird that a meme is saying that when you celebrate your ethnicity and heritage, you're somehow like doing the opposite. So, anyways.
I got no love for the Democratic Party, but I thought it was a bit harsh. That meme was a bit harsh. A little bit.
Well, the Democratic Party needs to learn how to fucking talk to people.
It's a meme, but incredibly hyperbolic and
it knows how to talk to people.
Frankly,
it refuses.
I think if my memory serves me right, I do think I grabbed some left-leaning memes this time. But let's see what else you got, Stevie.
I have yet to see proof.
Oh, that chick's definitely left-leaning.
Oh yeah,
Well, people need to stop going to.
So I tried to start a Facebook page to just share memes and shit. Just be myself and everything. The first time I tried to share a meme, I have a ban that lasts for 9 more years.
Holy shit!
Holy fuck!
First post. Stop putting your cock on there, man. I mean,
no cocks, no dicks, no.
Right.
This kind of looks like Mark Zuckerberg too, so that's kind of funny.
I'm pretty sure that is Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, it is.
I totally thought that was Mark
So
Zuckerberg.
he like recently came out and he went on Joe Rogan's shit and he's like, "I'm so sorry, Trump. I didn't mean to ever be on the side of the liberals." And he like fucking.
I will never have any love for that guy.
He openly admitted that they were pressured by the government to censor things directly related to coronavirus, which is where Fauci comes back and all
What I'm telling you is that he actually fucking did it, though. That doesn't make him cool for saying it.
First of all, Facebook has been broken as fuck forever.
That means you told them yes.
It is a barely functional website.
Have you tried Meta customer support? Dear God, if your account is
does it
banned,
exist?
Holy God.
Horrible.
Get ready for a ride.
I will say, try having an argument there. It'll be like it'll bring you to a page, and then you have to switch from most relevant comments to all comments, and then you gotta scroll through. It's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
It does not work at all.
I'm having that same issue with you arguing with Zach Goldkin.
Oh yeah,
that guy.
You can't even find the comments in the stream. It's fucking gone. It's
I no longer want to, by the way, because Jesus Christ, Topher, just fucking give it a rest. Anyway,
We heard.
But at the same time, I would advise all of you just for funsies or whatever, if you're driving or whatever, watch the Joe Rogan and Mark Zuckerberg podcast, the latest one. Because I've been in the same boat with Zuckerberg, as everybody else.
Zuckerberg has been banning left-wing accounts and shit for years.
It's like censoring.
It has been so
I'm not
hard
gonna
to
get-
keep our meme pages alive. It's unbelievable.
I'm not going to get hardcore into it, but he gives
posting
part of-
number 5 and
part-
shit.
it's
Like we
part-
can't keep anything on
It's part
Facebook.
of the oligarchy that we saw
It
at
is.
the inauguration
100%.
this last week.
when
the
you
Zuck came
get
out.
it.
The Zuck came out looking like Joe with a black shirt on, trying to relate to America with $1 million watch on. Oops, I forgot to take it.
Probably $11.
I ain't got no watch on.
We're changing for you.
I feel like
I'm one of you now.
I have a deep well of
No,
pity.
and I
Take
totally
my $1
get
million
it.
watch on.
All I'm gonna say is it did give. So I would recommend you guys to watch it and then just see what you think afterwards. Just because on Rogan, if you could stand a whole 3 hours on Rogan, you're gonna get into some deep shit.
Never promote someone else's podcast.
I listened to it.
He did well. I like Rogan, so I will. Fuck it.
He's not as smart as you, and you should take that as an insult.
Rogan's about to blow up now that Joe mentioned him, dude.
Yeah, no shit, right?
I bet he gets a bit.
Yeah, he might get all of our 54 subscribers, dude. I mean, I better watch out.
By the way, thanks, Brian.
Probably send you a thank you note.
But no, I have a different take on Musk since I watched that. It was interesting, and he had a lot of things to say.
Musk or Zuckerberg?
I'm sorry, I fucked that up. Zuckerberg. Zuck.
What if they had a kid? It was Zuckerberg. Muskerberg.
Zusk.
Muskerberg.
Hit us with the next meme, Stevie.
Boo hiss.
Oh, California priorities.
Are we still doing this shit? Oh
Yeah.
my fucking
I think,
god, bro!
I think we
give
already
it a
beat that to
rest.
death.
It's like, you know.
I have a little bit of
Makes me feel
envy
good when I
that,
drive down the street.
that fire hydrant is so much bigger than our fire hydrants here.
Yeah.
See how tall that thing was?
Oh,
I bet that fire hydrant would have worked.
Puts us to shame.
Let's put
Or not.
Let's put
Maybe it wouldn't have.
priorities
I
first.
don't know.
Ours are more
Y'all might
phallically
have some
shaped, so that's
insecurities that I'm not trying to deal with tonight.
Hit us with the next
Any
meme,
more
Stevie.
fun
We got any
ones, Joe?
Oh, insurance companies ready to deny people house fire insurance.
Well, insurance.
Hell, all right.
That's a whole other episode, buddy.
And they did before. I don't know how many. I'm sure we could probably look up numbers eventually, like how many people actually did get cut from their insurance right before this happened. There were
I think
quite a
Ryan
few.
said 70,000, yeah.
76,000
remember,
people.
folks,
State Farm alone.
Remember, folks, the right wants to privatize more. So get ready for more of this one.
Yeah, and then they'll entrap you in debt forever when you have to deal with the consequences of this shit.
I can only think of
so
one
you'll
type
be
of
fucking
insurance that
working
isn't already
forever.
Well, not most of the people that actually lived in the Palisades. I'll say that much. But
Workers'
yes,
insurance, like unemployment. It's the only one I can
It's
think
a
of that isn't
balance.
already privatized.
the majority of them are just fine. But
Do we have more memes?
Neither here nor there. I don't think so. That was
God,
probably the
I
last
hope
one.
not.
Stevie, you got any more? No,
Nope.
you're out.
All right.
Stevie,
Just your
yeah.
beautiful face, huh? All right. Well, I guess, does anybody have any closing points that you guys want to mention really quick before we close this one out? No?
I'm out of whiskey. There wasn't enough for this episode.
Okay. Well, it's supposed to be apple juice. Remember, we're trying to get on
fuck
TikTok.
Download Red Note and fucking
Download Red Note.
No,
get familiar with our new Chinese overlords.
Oh, shit.
They make good food though.
Learn
so there's
Mandarin.
that.
They've already
make
been there.
amazing food. I love in their
You guys
pet
are eating
pictures.
American Chinese. Fuck right off.
No one's eating fried grasshoppers
I'm
here.
eating soul food.
I'll eat some of
The
that shit
Chinese
right now.
absolutely do not think the fucking chop suey I'm eating in North County is real Chinese food, but it's real Chinese food. It's people making it.
China
so.
Kingdom on the street that ended a decade
Is
ago
number
was the
one
best
China
thing.
closed? Did you see this?
I don't know. I've never
Number one, China's closed.
Yeah,
I'll go
the owner
protest it right
died.
now.
The old guy behind doing all the fucking food.
So
He
that's what
died.
you want to leave to the audience is that.
Number one China is so
Dude, hold on.
amazing. No matter what you order, if you order 5 things or 50,000 things,
We are
they
not
always say the same
sponsored
thing.
by
I grew up
Number one
eating
China.
fucking number one China.
I know.
George,
I know.
George.
This is the most important thing we can talk about.
George, let me maybe help calm you down. Are you sure the guy died?
Yeah, there's a whole thing about it.
Oh, that sucks. Because a lot of times
got
they'll
swept
go
under
home
the
and
rug.
shut for the next
No,
few
the
weeks
poor.
for Chinese.
I don't mean to
New
make
Year.
light of it. The poor grandson left a voicemail saying they were temporarily, hopefully not permanently closed.
I watched that grandson grow up. He was always in the corner doing his homework.
All right, guys,
It's
I'm gonna
because-
go tie off.
it's
It's
because
up
of
to
Trump.
him to keep it alive, buddy. You keep that.
I'm
keep
fucking
number one
pissed.
China alive, man. That's a bomb diggity. No matter what you order, if you order one thing or 50 things, same thing. 10 minutes. It takes them 10 minutes. It's amazing.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Especially that advertisement at the end.
for the place that no longer exists.
Sponsor our show.
Thanks so much, guys, to the panel. If you guys have not subscribed yet, please do. I can't imagine you actually made it this far and haven't subscribed. Bad. Shame on you if you have. So, this is the Madhouse Show. This has been episode 14, and only eat Chinese food if you like Chinese food.
number one China.
Not because George told you to.
Number one, the best.
Or Steve.
Best
Number
Chinese.
one. Number one.
And trust me, I know little Stevie
China
pretty well.
number one?
Stevie just likes food. It doesn't really fucking matter what kind of food it is.
No, but number one China food is really good.
Especially for North County, St. Louis.
Well, I appreciate y'all so much. This has been Epstein.
Epstein.
Epstein?
Epstein.
The
Who?
Epstein
No,
network?
no. This has not been
I'm
Epstein.
telling you, we
This
need
has
to
been
reveal the Epstein client list. It was everybody who was worth more than $5 million.
You could unleash that with the
And
JFKs.
as far as the Epstein client list, we have it right here, and we're going to reveal it
It's
on the
all
next
rich people.
episode.
Episode 15. Stick around.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys. This has been the Madhouse Show. We'll see you next week.